This is huge as we have a major update around the Chicago Bulls. We're going to be talking about the most recent injury update, along with the strategy that the Chicago Bulls might be trying to execute down the stretch of this NBA season. This is your host, Rico Greenhowe. You have found yourself on another episode of Bulls Digest. And so today, we're looking at the most recent injury update around the Chicago Bulls heading into tomorrow's game against the Cleveland Cavaliers, and just maybe the strategy that the Bulls are trying to go ahead and execute down the stretch here. And so before we go ahead and jump into the content for today, I first wanted to remind you that 73% of you that watch are not subscribed to the channel. So make sure that you go ahead and you slam dunk on that subscribe button, as it means a lot to us here at Bulls Digest as we try to reach our end of the season subscriber goal. And so with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into the content for today. And so we are looking at the most recent injury update around the Chicago Bulls. You can find this pretty much everywhere. I went to Bleacher Nation to find this one, and this is where you can see that, look, we have a long list of players that are slated to be out or are questionable, but I think the first key out for tomorrow's game is it's going to be Coby White, and it looks like that he is out due to rest. And so, look, with the Chicago Bulls in a situation where they can still improve their play-in seeding, I think that maybe the message is being sent very clearly here that, look, they are firmly in the play-in, and now it is about just making sure that, players are healthy, and they're going to maximize the opportunity regardless of what seed that they are going to be in the play-in situation. And I must agree that the bottom line is just, look, you want to be playing your best basketball. I know it's the play-in situation, but look, if you want to go as far as you can, then that means that you need to have your players ready to go. And starting with Coby White, look, I think that Coby White has been fantastic for us. I love the fact that, look, he's really made the jump here to just taking on the main scoring role. Talking about what he did in yesterday's game, I think that that was phenomenal again, with the 37 points, the 5 assists, 2 rebounds, 2 steals, plus 14. He was 12 of 16 from the field. But more importantly, it's the way that Coby White is doing it. It's not just sitting behind the three-point line, even though he was on fire yesterday. He was 6 of 8. But it's the 7 of 7 from the free throw line. It's his ability to get to the free throw line. And he has been playing some major minutes along with some other players as well. And so, look, I don't have a problem with resting Coby White. I'm more impressed with just what he's been doing over the last, course, like I said, of this season, and just really showing us that, look, he can be a main scorer for us, and he also can be a playmaker and not necessarily have to be the primary ball handler, which is great, because that is a question that we really had with this backcourt, and certainly I think that it's being answered and it's paying off. I know that, we need to see the bigger sample size, which is the entire season, but for right now, I love the way things are trending, and so I do not have a problem with giving Coby White, Josh Giddey the night off, so to speak. And so going back to the injury update here, and so I think that probably the one that is just more interesting to me out of this list of players is going to be the Lonzo Ball situation, because we continue to keep seeing that, look, maybe he's ready to go this game, maybe he's ready to go for that game. I just think that, look, it's been great to see Lonzo Ball out there. It's been great to see his impact on the team. I think that, look, nobody can deny that. I think that, the team is going to welcome him back if he can get back. But look, he's in a situation where he is clearly going to be dealing with some discomfort in the wrist. And I just think that, look, do you necessarily need to have him out there in order to, maybe maximize this opportunity? I don't think that you necessarily do. And I just think that maybe we're at a point right now with this Chicago Bulls team that it's really had to come together without Lonzo Ball out there. I think that, look, Billy Donovan has had to go a lot more into his coaching bag. He's had to rely a lot more on Dalen Terry and JulianPhillips. And, he's even had to rely on Patrick Williams coming off the bench. And, he doesn't have Trey Jones as well. And I think that regardless of what happens out here into this play-in situation, even if it's an early exit, I think that this really helps the Bulls for the long term, because this was one of the questions that we had with this team. And it was just like, okay, what exactly can we depend on from Julian Phillips, Dalen Terry, Jalen Smith when he does get a chance to play, which he needs to play, right? And so like some of these younger players that are definitely going to really be, I think, the focus point of this team as they continue to kind of build out, like this gives you an opportunity now to utilize these younger players, because he doesn't have Lonzo, he doesn't have Torrey Craig, right? And he has to utilize these players. So I think that it's been a bonus to go out there and use them. And I just think that you don't need to rush Lonzo back, especially if it could maybe lead to a setback, because Billy Donovan did say like, hey, there's a chance that he could, hit the wrist in a certain way and he can be right back to square one. And, just going back and looking at this injury and the injury history, like he's fortunate that it didn't cost him, kind of the season like it did with Patrick Williams. And so I just don't think that it's going to be worthwhile to put him out there. And with Kevin Huerter, look, Kevin Huerter has been solid for us. And I love everything that we're getting from Kevin Huerter. And look, man, he's out right now. I think he's listed with a strain. And so if he's not available to go perfectly, it's perfect that you go ahead and rest him as well. In fact, it's called a cervical strain is what he's listed as. And with Vooch, he's questionable with the calf, and it looks like injury management. I think that this is also too something that they could have probably listed as rest. And I just want to go ahead and give Vooch just his flowers, man, because Vooch has done a terrific job for the Chicago Bulls this season, because I think that his role certainly has had to change. You can definitely tell that the offense has changed, and he's still going out there and taking care of business. And once again, to congratulate him, I mean, getting 201 double-doubles, it just shows you just how consistent that Vooch has been over his time with the Chicago Bulls. And so I know it's going to be interesting going into the summer, especially if the team is still looking to move him, because he's certainly not playing at the level he did at the start of the season. But I think he's still doing a good enough job that teams would definitely want to take a chance on him with an expiring contract. And then also too, lastly with Josh Giddey, look, if you're going to rest Josh Giddey, certainly understandable as well. This guy has been absolutely balling as well with Coby White, excuse me. And so with Josh Giddey, look, he continues to show the confidence. He's rebounding at a crazy high level. Like, I love to see him just go after the rebounds. It's been just incredible to see that. I really feel like that with each rebound, you also get the energy that he gives on that. And then just the confidence that he is just taking these shots. He's going in, he's using his size to get to the free throw line. Like, he's become a lot more crafty on the offensive end. And I love that about what Josh Giddey is doing. And so, look, I think that between Coby White, Josh Giddey, these are players that you just don't need to see anything else from them right now during this part of the season with, 3-4 games left to go. If you want to see what they can do rested and see if they can make a serious push to get out of this play-in situation, great. But I'm fine with the Chicago Bulls going out here and resting these players if this is what the strategy is. I don't think that necessarily getting a higher seed is going to do anything better for us. And so anyway, let me know in the comments what you think here. Do you think that, look, the Chicago Bulls should be in a situation where they should be resting players? Do you think that, look, they should be fighting for the highest seed possible in the play-in situation? And then also, too, are you in agreements that, look, with Lonzo out, as unfortunate as it is, it really has kind of helped in the sense that Billy Donovan has had to go and trust some players that normally maybe he would not have had to trust. Because I think one thing with Billy Donovan is that once he does get the trust with a player, I think he will definitely utilize that player. And I think it's really worked out for Julian Phillips and Dalen Terry. I think that they benefited the most with Lonzo Ball being out. It's unfortunate with Trey Jones being out. I certainly think he's played himself into another contract. I mean, who knows if it's with the Chicago Bulls? I think that we've talked about this before. It comes down to just how are you going to adjust the roster to, get him in there. But, bottom line, with these guys out, Billy Donovan has had to really go out there, use these players, and it really helps kind of answer a lot of questions that we may have moving forward, and it just really helps with the team build long term. And so anyway, let me know what you're thinking, and as we always say, go Bulls. I will see you guys on the next one. All right, peace.